Today on the Clean Power Hour, Dragon Scale Solar. Gravity batteries are real and selling deals. And Illinois has new clean energy legislation. I'm Tim Montague, your co host. Welcome to the Clean Power Hour. We've been on hiatus for a couple of months, and a lot has changed. Illinois now has major new energy legislation. We're going to chat a little bit about that. There's lots of good media out there about that. And John Weaver, my co host, wrote a story about Dragon Scale Solar. So that's a real thing. Welcome to the Clean Power Hour, John Weaver, commercial solar guy.
Hey Tim, how are you? Hope Illinois is nice. Winter is coming, so it's cooling off a bit. But I think I'm going to usurp our order of stories and say, Tim, did you know that this morning the Biden administration and a whole bunch of politicians are saying they have seemingly come to an agreement on this reconciliation package?
Oh, I
This
didn't know
morning.
that. I didn't know that. So lay it on me. What do you think? Because I've been really disappointed how Joe Manchin has just
Yeah.
completely sidelined the clean energy legislation. You know, they no longer have free community college education in the bill. So many disappointing things. But why is this good news?
Well, the key things for us, specifically being solar professionals, is that the solar tax credit is seemingly going to increase to 30%. It's going to be extended for 10 years. It's going to be a direct pay option as well. There's going to be two adders. All of these items, I have not seen the explicit text, but I've been told they're all in there. And what these two adders do is one of them is for domestic content being above 55%, and the second is for paying prevailing wage. And so what that means is that the value of your projects will increase by at least 4 to 10%, in my opinion. As well, the tax liability challenge that we've always had will go away. Much like the 1603 grant from back in the 2010-ish, 2012-ish window, the direct pay option means you first apply the tax credit against your liability. And then, if you have no more liability, the rest of that tax credit comes to you in the form of a cash check. And that is huge. That's going to get rid of the tax equity cost, the tax equity headache. And there's lots of other stuff in there. Apparently, there's the Solar Energy of America Manufacturing Act, which is going to pay. We'll see what version it is because I've seen multiple versions, but which will seemingly give incentives to manufacturing the whole supply chain, starting with polysilicon into the wafers, into the cells, into the modules, and even an extra little bonus incentive if they have smart modules, which I guess is a solar panel with an inverter integrated. And so I'm following Twitter 24/7 because that's what I do. But I saw a headline that said that our Democratic senators from Arizona and West Virginia left Biden's office seemingly cool with the document as long as it comes in the version that they've approved. So, yes, the social services aspect of it were whacked, which, that's whatever we are. We're the United States. We're capitalists. We're not human beings. But, you know, the solar portion of it is, that's what I got to pound the table on because that's how I feed myself today. So it seems positive, and who knows? Maybe we'll get a signature on something soon. But come January 1st, your spreadsheets are going to be different.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons, right? The supply chain issues are very real. There's new tariffs coming on to solar modules made in Southeast Asia.
Not
This
yet.
is
Maybe
yeah,
not yet.
yeah, not yet, but yeah. I mean,
We'll see. We'll see.
I was talking to First Solar the other day. We've been on the prowl for 700 megawatts of solar modules. I now work in the utility solar and storage industry, and so it's very exciting for me personally to now be on this bigger playing field. That's been a dream of mine for a while, but the challenges are many. Solar modules are sold out for many manufacturers through 2023 sometimes, and solar modules are getting more expensive and they're getting scarcer, and now there's tariffs coming on, which is, I mean, I see stories saying something like 25% of the solar modules coming into the US are impacted by the potential tariff, right?
Well, it's a hypothetical tariff, and I've seen, and it's mostly going to affect utility scale because those are all the products coming from the LONGi, Yingli, Jinkos that are being manufactured in Southeast Asia. But I also see that various analysts are looking at it and suggesting that because the Trade Commission booted to make a decision the first round, it leads to some folks suggesting that maybe that means that they won't rule on it because they see that the industry, especially with this reconciliation bill, is working on this in other manners and it's attempting to end around this challenge. So I could just be hopefully optimistic because I am, but we'll see. Hopefully the price of panels doesn't jack up even more than it already is. um, but we'll see. I mean, first off, I would never listen to anything First Solar says because they're, of course, very biased, even though they do manufacture panels in Malaysia and Vietnam. But we'll see. And, you have a bigger insight now on the utility scale than you ever did because, if you're biting off 10 megawatt plus size projects, you're dealing with stuff that generally I don't. My residential world, all the panels are local, and a lot of my small commercial we buy Hanwha, and we buy other products actually manufactured in the U.S. because that's the easiest and best for us to get. So those aren't affected. But I have a project right now that's got some Jinko on the roof. I have another one that has URE panels, which is based out of Taiwan. And while these are specifically not the countries that China is moving manufacturing to, I wonder how it's going to work. Um, Officially, technically, February 15th or so, the 18% tariff falls away. And who the heck knows? I'm nervous about any contract, EPC contract I signed right now. I put in an adder that says, "Hey, if this is what I bid your panels at in this, and if they go above this, you're paying for it." I don't charge them an adder on top of that cost because I'm trying not to lose deals. But I say, "Listen, here's a number. Here's my spreadsheet. If it goes above this because of reality, you're paying for it because I'm not in the business of losing money." But I'm stressed about it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's definitely a time to be cautious and make sure you have the necessary exclusions in your contract to to account for the rising price of commodities. I mean, the really scary thing for me, John, is that you hear about the rolling blackouts in China. Factories are getting shuttered because there's a shortage of grid power. Uh, that can't be good for our economy at large, and I'm sure it's not good for Chinese workers, etc. There's speculation that the Chinese economy is perhaps getting into a troublesome spot. And that's the nature of economies. They ebb and flow. We've had one of history's longest runs in a growth economy here in the US. And it's just like, wow, can this how long can this go on? So um the ebbs and flows will be there. And everybody who's been in the solar industry for more than a few years knows that these things come and go. And while some tariffs are stepping down, others are potentially stepping up. I'd love to have Clean Energy Associates back on. That was a popular episode I did about um, the labor issues in China, and but I'm sure that they're abreast of what's going on with all of this around Southeast Asia manufacturers. But the long and short of it is, the Biden administration is trying to incentivize reshoring of manufacturing. That's basically a good thing. We need to now step up. And speaking of First Solar, they are expanding their factory in Ohio. I think they only have 2 gigawatt capacity today, so they're headed to 4 gigawatts. Meanwhile, Q Cells has a plant. I think they're talking about expanding their footprint in the southeast, and I'm all for having more panel manufacturing. And then in the racking world, it's the same thing. There's shortages of steel, especially if it's coming from overseas. It's all jammed up offshore, sitting in container ships. We're we're switching to manufacturers that make their product right here in the Midwest for ground mount for fixed rack tilting, for example, fixed tilt racking. Uh,
Does
so
that
it's
mean RBI Solar?
negative. It would be OMCO.
Ah,
Uh, we like RBI too,
hmm,
although honestly, RBI seems to be in somewhat of chaos. It's been hard to get them to respond in a timely manner to RFQs, etc. I'm not sure what's going on there. Obviously, big company, and they've been adding to their portfolio, right? They they're now representing several major racking companies. TerraSmart is part of that family. Um, but very legit racking company. But and even like ATI, there's a I get a negative signal from our estimating team on even touching that product because of supply chain issues and them being sold out, et cetera. I mean, it is a double edge. When you get too popular, then it's hard to satisfy your smaller customers, and
yep,
that's kind of the boat that we're in at
yep,
Fossler. But John, let's talk about some of the stories. There's some cool stuff going
sure.
on. I'm a huge fan of Energy Vault, which is a gravity battery. I'm going to put this on screen.
You
Story
think
in
this is
two.
going to be a real product that's going to be deployed? Obviously, you do, and it's sold official deal.
Oh,
It just seems such a weird thing. I don't know. Pick the block up, put the block down. I mean, I love the concept of it, and it seems so simple and elegant, but it's just weird. I love it. I love it being weird.
so Energy Vault signed a $520 million deal to supply 1.6 gigawatt hours of energy storage to DG Fuels and to produce renewable hydrogen and a variety of fuels. So this is a project in Louisiana where there's a huge oil and gas industry, uh, oil refineries, etc. And they've this company has a pilot going, I think, in Italy. But there you see the technology. It is a tower, a crane tower that then constructs a block tower. These are concrete blocks. The concrete blocks can be made locally, and every region of the earth has concrete manufacturing. And you can take all kinds of waste products and put them into those blocks. Obviously, there's some engineering that has to be done. That the blocks have to be uniform because you're building a physical structure. It's a Lego brick tower, right? And so when you have excess energy from from wind or solar, then you're building the tower, and then when you need to pull that power, you're taking the tower apart and leveraging the gravity energy that's been stored in the blocks. Yeah, I think this is real. I think it is probably. I don't know if they list a price here.
Well, they
Um,
do right there. 520 million, 1.6 gigawatt hours. That comes out to $325 per kilowatt hour.
325. Interesting.
Yep, yep. Which
So, I
is
mean, we're at
reasonable.
aren't we at around $100 a kilowatt hour for stationary storage with lithium ion?
We're that level on the cell or the pack level, but in terms of deploying a full thing, we're in the 400 for a small project, up to under 300, 325, 350 something for a larger project. If you're going to go to Tesla's website, that's what they're going to list it at. So you can go to Tesla's website and request a quote for one of their
Yeah.
projects. So this is in it. This is in that window. It's it's just so, I don't know. It's just funny looking. It's it's we're picking up bricks,
Well,
which is
the
cool.
question is how much maintenance does the crane apparatus need, and how much downtime there's going to be in that kind of thing, right? But this crane technology is tried and true, right? Go to any big city, and the skyline is full of these cranes that are building buildings. This is that style of crane. I
Yep.
mean, it's a little different configuration, of course.
Yep.
Um, it's a six-armed crane, and that is because it is building basically a circular tower around the main crane support tower. Um, so, yeah, who knows whether it'll get traction in the long run. Um,
but it's
And
cool.
it is cool. And on that page, we'll put the link in the show notes on that PB Magazine story. There's a nice little animation introducing Energy Vault, so you can check that out, or you can just Google Energy Vault. So they're a known quantity in the alternative energy. I emphasize alternative. Solar is going to beat them all day long, though, right? Uh, because we can do large scale solar at 4 cents, and of course you need sun. The
Yeah.
gravity's always there.
Yep.
So that's the advantage of gravity, and things like pumped hydro, especially closed loop. I'm a fan of closed loop pumped hydro. I think we'll see more of that. But when you look at the long term energy storage predictions, the it really is about batteries. That is going to be the dominant
Yeah.
storage technology. So I'm not kidding myself about that. It's just that there will be applications for alternatives. Let's talk about your Dragon Scale story in PB Magazine. That building looks very Asian in design. Where is that building? Oh, Silicon Valley.
California, Silicon Valley. Yep, yep.
Right on.
So it's really it's a building integrated photovoltaic. It's got mono PERC cells, so a standard solar cell product. Um, the company is European. I think it's Sun something. The name is right there. I forgot the manufacturer. So it's not a unique new product. It's just the first time I saw it. The Sun style, and it's just cool. It's very aesthetically pleasing. The panels are squares, and there's actually an overlaying chunk. So, there's you when you overlay these things, there's one corner in the top where a cell is overlaid, and they don't actually put a cell there. The efficiency is somewhere in the 15 to 17%. Um, they seem like a pretty strong product. I just, building integrated PV, solar that's built into the structure as part of the structure at the time that the structure is being designed and constructed initially, it's going to be cheaper. And it's it's just philosophically it's really sweet. It's nice to see this concept of solar existing in a building as part of the building, not as this adder 6 months, 10 months, 100 years later, but as part of the construction philosophy. And Google pushing it is going to make it a little more mainstream. Tesla building their solar roof, a little more mainstream. And so it's just neat to see. And there is some beautiful, if you go to the company's website, there are some beautiful images they have. This Google structure itself, and there's a video in there. It's just, oh, it's so gorgeous. And
Well,
so,
do you see the photo that's on screen now?
oh, wait, I was just looking at the article. Yeah.
with
Yep.
the
Yep.
workers carrying these tiles. They're much
Hmm.
bigger than they appear in the top photo. Right, when you're
Yes.
looking at it at this scale, they look like maybe they're like residential size, but these things
Hmm.
are like 4 by 4.
Yep. Yep.
um
They're really close to a normal size panel. Not as long, of course, not as big, about half the size, but,
yeah,
you know, nice.
and so that's what I like about it, is they're beefy. This isn't a residential roof tile. And I guess the question is, are they targeting strictly commercial first, or are they actually going after residential with this product as well?
Without a doubt, if you go to their website, you're going to see a whole variety of installations. They had a big commercial install. They've had some gorgeous resi. They install wherever they can. It's a company that's been around for 5, 6, 7 years at least older than 2017, because I saw that on one of their spec pages.
Okay.
So, yeah,
And it's a French company?
I want to say yes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe so. I do believe
Yeah, one of
so.
the PV Magazine stories that was linked in your story was suggesting it was a French company,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
um, I love it.
yep.
It's very pleasing to the eye. Seems seems like it could work. I guess it's also a question, what is the cost per watt? Do you have any sense of that?
Nothing at all. I tried poking around a little, and yeah, nothing yet. So so
Yeah.
I even wrote them an email, but nobody answers for that type of stuff. but expect it to be more expensive than normal, which is just always the case with building
Yeah,
integrated products. But
absolutely.
more expensive in one sense, in that the product itself is more than a standard solar panel, and even the labor might be a little higher. But if we're using true building integrated that offsets other building materials, and we're doing the electrical and the wiring and the labor and everything at time of original installation, with original install, with original everything, then things start becoming real competitive. And the only negative in that argument, saying, okay, great, now it's viable cost structure, but it's no longer it's a viable cost structure, but the volume of new construction isn't nearly as large as the utility scale deployment. So I want more distributed utility solar, because I believe it's fundamentally important to the people, to the nation state, and it keeps the pressure on the big boys to keep innovating and keep their costs down. If they know that John Doe and Jane Doe can be like, I'm out. I'm no longer paying this crappy electricity. So, it'll roll slowly, but we do 5 million new roofs in the United States every year. That's a big market for BIPV. That won't be new at time of construction, but we do hundreds of thousands, if not a million or two new houses. So, there's a place, and slowly over time, this tide will build and build. And, I like BIPV. I like building integrated stuff. It's product. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there is a future for BIPV, especially not only roof technology, but glass technology, right, for cladding high rise buildings and larger structures. So it's going to happen. Just a question of when. Um, so you found a nice video of a 14 megawatt wind turbine, one of the first in the world. It weighs 500 tons. Interesting.
And
Uh,
that's an optimized one, which is
and
yeah. I just have you ever seen a street light up close versus hanging way up there, up way up there? They look at this little quaint little thing. It's a little street light, but then you stand next to it, it's like 4 feet tall. uh this little wind turbine thing, it's way up there, but you stand
right.
next to it, it's a school bus. And that's pretty significant. It's pretty cool with the size of these things. So 500 tons is their optimized size unit.
Yeah. So is this these 14 megawatt turbines though? Are they for onshore or offshore?
Offshore, definitely offshore. Onshore is the largest size onshore is in the 5-6 megawatt range.
Okay, so this is kind of I mean, this video shows them building it on land. So this is like a test facility.
Yeah, this is maybe the first one they're deploying. Um, they've just started talking about this 14 megawatt size. There's a 13 megawatt one somewhere that I've seen installed. I think it's a Vestas unit. See, now you're starting to get a sense of the scale. Like, there's little tiny humans underneath there.
Yeah, that
Um,
nacelle is really big,
yeah, yeah, it's just cool. Uh,
and that's because
yeah,
there's a ginormous generator in there.
yep.
And this I don't know the statistic off the top of my head, but like each turn of that rotor is powering several homes for a year or something like that, right? It's a crazy amount of
For a
power.
year. Yeah, for a year. It's like you it's it's so cool. I love big wind turbines just because big machines. It's just cool looking at them. So
Yeah.
it's just neat. I love and offshore wind, in my opinion, is going to be massive. I think there will be more offshore wind electricity. Well, there'll be more wind electricity generation over the next few decades than there will solar. Maybe in the end, solar will take over, but offshore wind and wind in general, it's just going to be such an important and valuable piece of cleaning our grid. And it's complementary to solar. It's wintertime and nighttime, which is, it's what we need. It's what we need.
Yep. Well, let's talk about electric pickup trucks. A lot of things have happened since we produced our last episode of the Clean Power Hour. I now work in utility solar and storage. I now also have a deposit on a Rivian truck. When the Rivian started coming out in the wild a few months ago, and so I started to see these videos of reviewers doing like rock crawling in
Yeah.
Colorado. And
Yeah.
I watched one of those videos and I went to the website and I put a deposit down. I was just like, I got to get back in the EV industry now that there's a real truck that could be one of the first to the market, if not the first in the US. I think maybe it is the first electric, like true blue electric pickup in the wild now in the US. So that's pretty exciting. And
Yeah,
my,
it is. They beat Ford and Tesla to the market.
yep, yep. And it was a long time in the coming. I mean, Rivian's been around for 10 years. Most people don't realize that. They've moved their headquarters now to Southern California, but they have a factory here in Central Illinois in Bloomington Normal. And they took over a old,
Wasn't
it
it
was
like a
one of,
Ford or GM or something
no, it was
factory?
one of the Asian automakers. I can't remember now, but
Toyota?
yeah, it
Cool.
wasn't Nissan, it wasn't Toyota, it wasn't Honda, it was
Somebody else.
one of the other big ones.
Cool.
Not the Koreans, but anyway, it was one of the Japanese automakers. They refurbished that factory. Now they're making trucks and SUVs. It is a little pricey, so that's I put an order in on a decked out model with the camping kitchen. The camping kitchen is awesome. It slides out. You've
I
got
saw
a
that.
built you've got a built-in stove and
Yeah.
sink. Um,
That's like a
and
$5,000 adder, dude. It's beautiful,
yeah, but
but it's
exactly,
worth it.
it's a pricey adder. So here's a photo of the Rivians, the truck on the left, the SUV on the right, and they've got tank turning capabilities, so they can just spin on their axis, which is also pretty awesome when you're in a tight spot. And all of the reviews, honestly, no, they're biased. These are YouTubers who are into the EV world and they
Yeah.
love EVs, but they've all been very positive. But the story here is not about some super positive news. What's the story about?
So there's two stories here, in my opinion. The first story is that there was a small fire there. That's what got the headlines, and so that's why I read the story. I was like, oh, it looks like a battery subassembly caught an issue and it was able to be put out. So if a battery submodule, about the size of a briefcase is what the article says, and caught fire, yeah, that sucks. They're gonna have to figure it out and make it work. But it looks like they also fixed it and took care of it. So good job. The story, though, that I see that I thought was interesting is that all the big headlines are that Rivian beat all the big players to the market with the first SUV, first truck, electric to the market. Oh, look at it! They just delivered the first one, I think, last month. They had a nice showing, and they showed the family that bought it. And then, if you read the article really closely, Tim, they're building one truck per day. Uh, that's 365 a year. They got some work to do to scale.
Yeah.
They got some definitely work to do to scale. So though, they're gonna have to get there. But I just thought that was kind of cute. It's like, ooh, got a truck out, got a new truck today, got a new truck today. That means there's still a small crew, but that did surprise me because Rivian's backed by Amazon money. Um,
Yes.
and so I wonder if that truck factory is doing more than just pickups because they're also building right now that are already on the road. They're out there. I've seen them. Not well. I've not seen them. I've seen videos, etc.,
Yes.
of Amazon delivery vehicles.
Yes,
And
they are.
so maybe it's just that they're building one pickup per day, scaling it, figuring it out, working through the bugs, and the rest of the factory is being used elsewhere. I don't know. I just
Well,
thought that was kind
I
of
saw a story that Jeff Bezos tweeted at Rivian. So, Rivian, where are my delivery trucks? And they're in the quiet period because they're going public. And once you make that announcement, then there's a quiet period before they
ooh,
actually launch the stock.
yeah,
And some of the stories I saw on this was not a real friendly approach that Bezos was making because it was in the middle of this quiet period. He's obviously a fan and an investor, but that's the question, right? How much do they have to prioritize the deliveries to Amazon versus consumers? When I made my order, it told me I could expect delivery in January of 2022. I'm not expecting that at all. I'm expecting a
ooh,
year later. And you see the same with the Cybertruck though. I have an order on a Cybertruck too, and that's getting pushed to 2023, I think. Elon wants to sell Model Ys, and for good reason. It's going to be the most popular car in America, And this is all about funding his journey to Mars, really, right? Becoming a spacefaring civilization. And he admitted this on the recent interview he gave with Kara Swisher. I think it was Kara Swisher. I can't say that.
I see the tweet that you're talking about. So Jeff says, and this was October 6th, he goes, a lot to still prove out there for sure, but the Rivian team is world class, and RJ Scaringe is one of the greatest entrepreneurs I've ever met. Now, comma, RJ, where are our vans? Question mark, exclamation point. So that can
Yeah.
be interpreted many ways, including a little bit of shade.
Yeah, if you go to Vox.com, you can find the story with Kara and Elon. He gave a long interview with her, and he just bluntly admits that all of his ventures, including Starlink, are just fuel to get to Mars. And even though he is about sustainability and electrification of transportation, and that is in his core model, so to speak, right? He is all about that, decarbonizing the economy. It is all about creating a faster, better machine to go to Mars and create a self-sustaining civilization that doesn't require support from Earth. That's the real getting through the filter. The great, and he talks about this, so check it out. Unfortunately, the sound wasn't very good, and Kara's voice was very hoarse. She was recovering from a cold or something, but Elon was in true form, and it's worthwhile because he doesn't give those ask me anything interviews. Literally, he just says, "Hey, go where you want to go." That's how they kicked it off. And she dove into China, what's going on with China and crypto, and China and manufacturing, and China versus the U.S. And
Yep.
Elon seems pretty chill about the whole potential conflict between China and the U.S. But I think he's just trying to assuage our fears because he's got a full blown factory there, and he doesn't want
Massive.
things to blow up. He's of course, delivering to the Chinese market and the European market, um, and successfully so. And they talk about how the Biden administration slighted Tesla and did not invite them to the EV summit, which I think that is just ridiculous, and shame on Joe Biden for doing that. I think that is insane, right? Because if anybody has moved the EV revolution forward, it is Elon Musk and Tesla.
Yep. Yeah, it was about unions and it was about politics with that meeting, and it was a bit foolish that the EV company globally wasn't invited. But you know what? He's gonna get past that real fast, and it's let's just keep rocking on is what's really gonna happen.
Yeah. So
You want to
we
see a
should
natural disaster now?
Yeah, we should wrap this up. We're going to wrap this up with a natural clean tech disaster.
Sorry,
And
I wanted to show something breaking because breaking stuff is fun. I know, but it's just kind of neat.
yeah, what are we
Look at
looking
that.
at?
So this is a turbine off the coast of Ireland that's falling, and they're not supposed to do that. Look at that. It just kind of comes right apart like paper thin. Just swoosh. A little bit of damage on that boat. Oh my gosh. I don't know what a single set of blades and everything cost, but just
Yeah,
you can
so it
see
looks
the.
like the line snapped, that was holding this. It's obviously being hoisted by a crane,
Mm-hmm.
and part of the blade is still hanging over the side of the boat, right? So it hits the boat
Yeah.
when you see the blade. Just wow.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
that
Yep.
that is awesome. I
Yeah.
feel bad. I feel bad for the owners of that situation, but um, that's the price of doing business, right? We're not perfect. Accidents are going to happen. Hopefully, nobody died.
Nobody. There were no injuries, no deaths, no nothing like that. Just a little bit of emotional issues and Crane Hub. I love that. There's a website that does nothing but videos of cranes doing stuff. I love the internet. We're such nerds. The world is beautiful. But so off the coast of Ireland, they did say, hey, try not to pick up any of these things. They're going to be sharp. There's fiberglass in it. It's real easy if there's waves rolling around. You're going to see
Mm.
stuff washing ashore. Nothing toxic, and all the real expensive heavy metals are in the nacelles. That's you just have the blades and a little a rotor for spinning. So nothing awesome fell in the ocean, but I mean, I bet you that was a $20 million worth of gear, maybe. I have no idea what that stuff costs, but
So I
you
just
know,
realized we didn't get to talk about the clean energy legislation in Illinois. We'll do that
uh,
on a future episode, John.
yes, yes, very
Maybe
important.
maybe we'll dedicate an episode to what's going on in clean energy legislation across the country because there's a lot of moving parts. It's a very dynamic landscape. You know, you see how just in 2 months when we were on hiatus, that thing popped and it was in the works for several years. You just never know
Hmm.
when it's going to pop. It's like the Pennsylvania market. I'm super pumped for the Pennsylvania market, uh, and I know you're playing in that market, but it's anybody's guess. Is it a year or is it 3 years? Right when it's really going to come online
Yeah,
and be
just watch, just
full steam
watch.
ahead.
Yep.
Any parting thoughts for our listeners about the clean tech news, where to go, what to look for, or about your company, John? We love to promote the commercial solar guy on the Clean Power Hour because you are our friend and colleague, and you're always bringing us such wonderful natural disasters.
I promise, not everything is something that's on fire. Uh, I would just say, watch this legislation as it gets signed. And if you're a customer, be realistic and honest about the fact that the whole of the industry is going to scale aggressively over the next few years. And if you want a project, reach out to us, but be patient with us. And also recognize we're under a lot of pressures and there's a lot of unknowns with costs, with legalities, with product just not existing. I mean, I just had to submit a document for roofing material that slowed down a project for 4 months because of the Texas February event destroying a factory that manufactures the insulation that goes underneath. And so Firestone had no sub insulation. They said, we're going to deliver in December. And project was just stopped. And so, there's complexities in the world, and reach out to your solar contractor. Be a little bit nice to them. They're working real hard, but now's the time. Now's the time. Get going with your clean energy responsibilities. There's good incentives that are coming from the federal level. They're fixing some of the flaws in the prior models, and if you see this reconciliation bill get signed and you see me on Twitter going, "Oh yeah," then it's time for you to call because your numbers are going to look solid.
Very good. Well, how can our listeners find you, John?
They can scream out the window, a commercial solar guy, or they could type that into Google and go to my website and hit a submission. We're located in the Northeast. We construct in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, New York. We have an in-house professional engineer now, electrical, and we're growing. So commercialsolarguy.com. That's the quickest way to find us. What about you, Tim? Where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm a moving target, and the best place to catch me, I am very fleet of foot, is at on LinkedIn or
Yep.
on Twitter. TG Montague on Twitter, and reach out to me. I love connecting with folks. Love to talk about the energy transition. I've been doing a lot of interviews, John, and I really enjoy doing that. So if you're a podcaster or have a TV show, would love to come on the show and talk about the energy transition. I mean that in all earnestness. Have really enjoyed doing that. So reach out to me. And with that, I think we will say sayonara. Thank you for listening. And check out all of our content at cleanpowerhour.com. We have a new website. We'll be propping up a new YouTube channel here shortly,
Nice.
but go to the cleanpowerhour.com to find all of this content. And John, have a wonderful day.